everyone, and welcome to What a Pitch! The podcast where people pitch made-up movies brought to you by the Pandering Talk channel. I'm your host, Dan Cutler, and joined with me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Sean.
Shing Shong Dingler.
How's it going, Sean?
I'm doing good. That's great. It was beautiful right there.
Yeah, flawless, one might
Flawless.
say. Yeah. Sean, we're not alone. We're joined with a very special guest.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get these words out today.
I have flustered myself so much. We are joined by a very special guest. You can see her doing theater across the Des Moines Metro. She's a huge music buff who collects vinyls and the such. She travels when her bank account allows it. And as I once described her, is always dressed for the first day of second grade. It's Ashley Rogers. Woo! Hey, Ashley, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. How are y'all?
God, we're doing good.
Great.
Thanks for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. For a little backstory for the listeners, Ashley and I were just in the Des Moines Playhouse's production of Jesus Christ Superstar, where Ashley played Simon Zealots.
Yes.
Which is awesome. Was this the first time you ever played a role that's typically cast as a male?
I would say yes. I've played Peter Pan in the past, and that's usually cast female. So this is the more traditional male role that's cast male that I was able to, put my spin on it.
Nice.
Which was cool.
That is really cool. I think it's really great at like the community theater and like the high school level of theater, where, you know, there might be communities that don't have a lot of males audition for roles. So bending the gender that way might be necessary, but I think it should be absolutely like accepted. Mostly because like theater of the mind and that kind of shit too. So like, oh, it's a girl playing Peter Pan, but Peter Pan's a boy. Like we all know that. Like who gives a shit?
Right. Yeah. And I think that David across the board was pretty gender fluid casting anyway, which was awesome to see.
It was great.
Yeah.
Sean, as someone who hates musicals, do you have any theater experience yourself?
I do. I was
Really?
I was the star in Once Upon a Mattress
No
in high school.
way!
I was the lead. Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Do you remember any of the music?
Alas, I lack. Alas. I don't know. It's something like that.
That's funny. I think I was actually
That's beautiful. You should just,
Thank you. My
hang
voice.
on to that forever.
It's great. Parents did not think I was that good at singing. They just gave me a very lukewarm
They were like,
response.
"It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. Good job. You tried hard. Thank you.
A for effort.
A for effort.
Cool. That's great.
Yep.
I think I was also that role. I think in middle school we did Once Upon a Mattress.
Oh, wow. You're farther ahead of that. I was a senior, so you nailed it probably in middle school compared to me as a senior.
Well, I mean, I've been singing since I was 4.
Oh,
so
cool.
like it's
Humble
kinda,
brag.
It's not a humble brag. Whatever. Ashley, I don't really know this about you. What's your history with like movies? Like, what kind of movies do you gravitate towards?
Yeah, I would say a good gangster film is always up there. Godfather Part 2 is in my top 5. I think Godfather alone is great. Part 2 is fantastic. 3, we just forget that it ever happened.
Sure, yeah.
So gangster films for sure, anything with action, but I also love like Lord of the Rings trilogy and a lot of historical romance as well. Tend to gravitate towards that.
Historical romance, what is that?
The first coming to mind would be Pride and Prejudice or Emma.
Off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head. Not just Jane Eyre stuff, but or like Downton Abbey.
Like Jane Eyre and the Ilk.
Yes.
Ah, yes.
Indeed.
And yes, quite.
Sips tea.
Have you ever seen the chronological edit of The Godfather?
No.
So what it is, it's the flashbacks from Godfather 2 with Pacino. Not
Okay.
Pacino, De Niro.
Yeah.
And then it's Godfather 1 and then the other half of Godfather 2. And it's like one continuous film.
Whoa.
Yeah. Which is crazy because Godfather 2 alone was shown with an intermission when it came to theaters. So the fact that both of those movies together in like one edit.
That's wild.
It's crazy, yeah.
Wow.
I've never seen it personally either, but I think it would be because those movies are phenomenal.
Yes.
Do you like gangster movies, Sean? I feel like you would.
I have. It's probably been a while since I've seen.
Maybe a little more like Goodfellas.
Good.
Than
Goodfellas
Godfather.
is great.
Whoa, have I seen Goodfellas before? I don't know. I think I have.
I mean,
Is that like they're in a warehouse or something?
No.
Nope. Well, what am I thinking of? I don't know what I'm thinking of. There's one movie where they're like in a warehouse for a while, or the whole time.
You're thinking of Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
You've seen Reservoir
Is that
Dogs.
a gangster movie?
Yeah, kind of. They're a gang.
I don't know.
They're
But
bank
like
robbers.
The Departed or The Gangs of New York, I remember my friend would have.
Gangs of New
so-
York. Oh,
Great fucking
yeah.
movie.
Yeah, no, I like
That's a
old
kill.
gangs
That's my
movie.
favorite part. I say that like when I do like simple tasks. Like I
Yeah.
take I'll like throw the garbage into the garbage can and I'll be like, that's a kill.
There you go.
And everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What is that reference?
But we in this room know it. Because you've seen Gangs of New York.
Yes.
Flawless. Well, I think it's time to get into the elevator. Bing bong.
Hello,
Hello, Mr. Elevator Man.
and Mr. Moneybags to you.
Yeah, Mr. Moneybags Elevator Man. Okay, so I am pitching a biopic about Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, okay.
So we're kind
I
of
like 'em.
we're kind of in that time, the last like 10 years or so, where biopics have really like been groundbreaking. I feel like we've seen a lot of it from Bohemian Rhapsody for Queen, obviously, Rocket Man for Elton John, most recently A Complete Unknown for Bob Dylan's work.
Yep. Love me some Chalamet.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet Ding Dong.
That's right. I like where your head's at.
So I feel like it's really gained a lot of traction, broke a lot of ground, and it would do well.
Okay.
And I think their career is a little bit lesser known, but in their day, they were big. And there's been a lot of hyper focus on this area of music, or so it seems, in the last handful of years, especially then with Bob's show. And then if we look at, I mean, Queen was a little bit more 70s, but everybody is just like hyped up about this time in music, as they should be, because it's phenomenal and unparalleled, in my opinion. And they just announced the Beatles biopic as well. The only name I know was Paul Mescal, because I love him for reasons.
Sir, what are you doing on my elevator?
Sorry.
But anyway, I would want to just explore, like, they really don't have a lot of discography. Like, if you looked at comparatively to Bob Dylan's A Complete Unknown, they really hyper-focused on a small period of time in the 60s, because he has, like, over 60 albums or something. Like, the guy is a writing machine.
Yes, he is.
These two only have 5 studio albums and 1 soundtrack. So really, I think it's a pretty easy time to focus on, hone in on, because it starts, like, they start releasing music in the early 60s, and then their very last studio album is 1970. So I feel like it's a pretty easy, doable period of time to sort of, like, highlight the ins and outs of their personal and professional relationship, the dichotomy there, just the drama that exists between the two of them. And I think it'd be cool to start, I've gone back and forth, but it'd be either cool to start at 1981, the Live in Central Park. That was huge. It was shortly after Paul's solo career had taken off. So, like, you heard things like Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard, Still Crazy After All These Years, and Kodachrome, that was on there too. So I feel like it'd be really cool to to start there. Or allegedly, there was a conversation that took place only last year where Art and Paul came together, had a discussion about their lives, about their career, aired their grievances. It was a very emotional conversation, and basically they both came out and said, like, we hope we can repair the friendship and maybe one day we'll get back together. And I was talking to my dad about this, and he's like, oh, they're a couple of old dudes. He's like, when are they going to get together if not now? And I'm like, I mean, I would just take my money if the two of them ever reunited. So I think it'd be cool to maybe start with that small conversation, and then, as a lot of biopics do, like, zoom out, go back to the beginning and see how they started.
Okay. That sounds good. Title for the movie?
So I originally was going to call it The Dangling Conversation, because that is a song on my favorite album, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. It's the 3rd album they released. It's super niche, so I think I'm going to change it. I want it to be The Sound of Silence. I feel like that's going to sell better. That's what put them on the map and made them a household name, was that album.
Now get out of my elevator. I'm going to think about it. Bye-bye.
Cool. Okay, bye.
I will also get out.
Yes, please. Yeah, I don't want you on here.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'm into this for so many reasons. One, this is like my father's era of music. And so like not well, I mean, yes, but he has this story of when my mom was pregnant with me, he'd wait for her to fall asleep and then he'd put little headphones and play Beatles tapes to me on her. Like he'd put headphones on her belly and play Beatles tapes for me.
I love that.
Yeah. So like, and I've had plenty of conversations where my dad is like, Art Garfunkel's fine. He would never have been famous without Paul Simon.
It's so true. I'm not trying to hate on Art. I'm really not. He's got this like beautiful ethereal tone to his voice, but Paul's the ringleader. He's the one who writes all the music. He's phenomenal guitarist. But like without Art, there's not a lot of dimension either. I mean, like Paul has a phenomenal solo career.
Yeah.
But I think I love this time in their music the most.
I think what like really makes it true is that I think they're both great lyricists and Paul Simon is a great musician.
Yes.
And so he could put those two things together by himself. But that being said, and I love Paul Simon. I love a lot of those songs. And it maybe is a bit cliche, but I think Bridge Over the Troubled Water is the best song. I think it's better than any of Paul's like solo music as well. Like that song is next level. Do you know that song, Sean?
You'd have to play it.
It's like a bridge over troubled
Sounds familiar.
water. Whatever.
It was. I think it was partly some type of like gospel group that he was listening to at the time that really inspired that piece, which is it makes sense.
Yeah.
Listening to it, and it's been covered by so many people. Elvis, I think for sure, famously covered it. Clay Aiken on American Idol.
Yep.
Everyone's favorite.
Everyone's favorite. I have to give props to Clay Aiken.
Yeah, I got it was like when the earthquake hit Haiti in like 2009, something like that. There was this compilation CD of musicians playing covers and stuff like that. And one of them was, I think it was John Legend doing Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Oh, that'd be so beautiful in his voice.
It was really good. And I also got the DVD of Live in Central Park. Like I got a DVD of the recording for my father for one of his birthdays. And it's like, it just immediately became part of his rotation of DVDs to watch. That Rolling Stones Shine a Light, the Scorsese directed live performance. Oh gosh, what are the other ones? I mean, all the Dirty Harrys. Like it's like
the Dirty Harrys.
It's like the same like 5 to 10 like DVDs that he just watches like on a rotation.
What's the Dirty Harry where there's a girl that jumps into a pool that's on top of a roof? I don't remember what happens.
How many Dirty Harrys are
there? There's
there?
a lot of them.
5.
I did not know there was more than one.
There are 5. I think it's the second one.
Okay.
This is Clint Eastwood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I only asked because my family stayed in that hotel, and the bellhop was like, "Oh, this is where Dirty Harry was filmed." Or whatever. We were like, "Okay." I think I was 12, so I was like, "Whatever, dude."
I think that's an appropriate reaction. It's like, oh, okay. So, speaking on your movie specifically, you talked about really great. First of all, did you write a script or just notes?
Yeah, I wrote notes. This isn't a script.
This
is
awesome.
more just like little bits and
great.
bobs about things that I didn't want to forget. But I mean, there's a lot here. So whether I remember to say all of this or reference all of this is yet to be determined.
Well, and like that's the other thing about movies is like we got to cut stuff. You know, can't
That's
have
true.
everything. So
Yes.
So you talked about wanting to start with this conversation where they're old men and reconciling. From a movie like storytelling perspective.
Yes.
I don't like it so much.
Okay.
A little anecdote. There's a really great documentary on Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, who had a very heated rivalry in NBA. But eventually it gets to the part where Magic Johnson gets diagnosed with HIV, and they tell and they're both being interviewed and they're telling their life story from their perspectives, and they're talking about how like Magic Johnson was like, first person to call me was Larry Bird, and be like, hey man, like that sucks. And they also tell the story about like in the midst of their rivalry, they filmed a Nike commercial with the both of them playing basketball at Magic Johnson's mom's home. And so they're filming and they're trash talking all this stuff. But then at some point they break for lunch and Magic's mom is like, come on in, you're having lunch with me. Like, I'm cooking lunch. So then Larry and Magic have to have lunch together with Magic Johnson's mom. And Larry was like, I saw a different side of him. Like, I saw a side of him that I never saw on the court because I saw him with his mom. And like the rivalry breaks down and it ends with Larry and Magic both being like, he's my best friend now. And I think that reconciling comes better after the conflict. Why is there schmutz on my mic? And so this is going to have a different, ebb and flow of the conflict between Paul and Art. But I think that overall reconciling should come at the end.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's stronger. I think my original idea to start at Live in Central Park makes more sense.
Yeah, I think that's really strong too. You start at the height of like what it's all going to become. And then we go back to how it all started, see the rising tension and the fame and the glory. And then when it comes to a boiling point, kind of falls apart. And then you're left wondering, like, is this how it ends? And then it ends with that conversation as old men.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's stronger.
Okay. So we open with Live at Central Park. How specifically should we open this?
Okay. So there is video of the boxer, and Art comes in early, and there's this look that Paul gives him. And I feel like, I don't know if this would make any sense to do it, but then you could put the sound of silence right after that clip and just start it that way. Because I think that automatically shows the power dynamic between the two of them. Because Paul is so fast acting, he wants to crank things out, he wants to get things done, and Art's a little bit more like flowy and airy, and just I think of him as just like this little passive like hippie in the corner. I don't know. I honestly don't know a ton about Art individually.
Sorry, was that who was on the elevator with you guys? Was it Art Garfunkel just being passive and airy?
Yeah, I think that's true.
Sorry, continue. I didn't mean to.
But maybe starting with that initial like just the nonverbal communication that exists between the two of them already speaks volumes.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I like that too because it's a subtle thing that forces the audience to kind of like read into it, and like suddenly they're making their own like conclusions kind of about it. I like that. So it starts with the boxer. Art comes in early. Simon shoots this glare. I don't know if glare is an appropriate term, but I'm wondering if it's like, maybe this is a bit too artsy, but like it's like a lingering glare or something, and like it's like the shot is like zooming in on Paul, and the music that's being played live is fading out as the Sound of Silence intro that is like fading in. And all the while there could be like Paul's doing like an internal monologue of about this combustion, about this tension.
I like that.
Do you know what I mean?
I really like that. I think it would be cool maybe throughout the film to have internal monologues that differ between the two of them.
Yeah.
It would be really interesting just to be able to show that juxtaposition of like, or even if we start with this part in Central Park with the boxer and then with the Sound of Silence, there's some dude from the audience that yells, "The Sound of Silence!" They're all like, ah! Crowd goes wild. And you could take that, have Paul's inner monologue, and then you could zoom out and go back to them in school when they met. They started a band in I think late 50s called Tom and Jerry, and it would have been when they first played together. So you could start at the height of their fame and then go right back to the beginning.
Yeah, I like that as well because I think the more ways we can like put artistic license on it makes it feel more like it's a biopic and less a documentary kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
Also, I like that you said biopic and not biopic.
Oh my God. I was literally like in the car on the way here. I'm like, how do you say? But I'm like,
Do people
because
say biopic?
Yes, I
I've
do.
heard biopic.
Oh, that's weird.
And it makes me feel strange. I know. I was like, no, I can't do that. It's not happening. So biopic it is.
Good. As it should be.
As it should be.
That'll be a T-shirt, biopic, and then like the phonetic, like how a dictionary tells you to say it.
Yeah.
Okay, so so we cut to them meeting in school, forming Tom and Jerry, which is a fact that I have not heard in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were trying to be the Everly Brothers. I mean, that was really their hero at the time.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, if you look at these early pictures of them, it's kind of unreal. I mean, Art's got this like Jufro going on, and that never really changes. And then Paul Simon's got this like bowl cut. I mean, they just look like babies.
So should we portray them as kind of wannabes at this point, like kids like learning how to do what they want to do?
Yeah, I
kinda
think
thing.
so. I mean, I think as long as you show that power dynamic of Paul always wanting to take control, that's probably the most important thing. And everything else aside, it's however long we want to hyper focus on it. I mean, I think it's good to touch base on that part of their career, but only slightly, and then get up through Simon and Garfunkel days.
Sure. Okay, so we get instances of seeing them kind of learning the ropes more or less, for lack of a better phrase, and also seeing this power dynamic of seeing the different personalities that they have. At some point, like they become like heavily influenced by the beatnik movement, right? And that's kind of what like kicks them off into like Simon and Garfunkel, like that group, like becoming the group.
Yeah.
Do you have anything about that in your notes?
So, I think in a lot of interviews when they ask Paul, like, what influenced your music and where were you drawing inspiration from? And he would often say, you know, like at the time, I mean, there's so much happening in the 60s. We've got the women's movement, the civil rights movement. I mean, there's so many things that people have a lot to say about. And he used to stand by, like, we were never political. Our music wasn't political, which I find, like, there are some songs that I'm like, are you sure? Because they theorize, actually, that The Sound of Silence was written after the JFK assassination. There is a theory out there that had something to do with it because it was released shortly after that all happened. But I digress. I think that when we're looking at the entirety of their discography as a whole, really, it's more about what's personal to them. And I think that's what continues to ring true through today and the songs that still speak to me, even though, like, if you look at the 59th Street Bridge, it's also called Feelin' Groovy. Which is like, yeah, okay, we all know, like, that's definitely a product of its time. But Paul was on a late night show once and somebody asked him, like, oh, what's your favorite song you've ever written, blah blah blah, and he's like, well, what about that 59th Street Bridge song? He goes, God, I fucking hate that song. Like, there are some things from those early days that he's like, I don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Sure, yeah.
So it's interesting because, like, it's so lighthearted, and it's kind of like escapism, I think, in that time. So I didn't hyper focus on the beatnik per se, but like he was so influenced by, especially, I mean, like if you look at Bob Dylan's career as well, I mean, that's far more political, obviously. And he's like, you know, we always felt like Bob kind of had a handle on that, and so we were just doing our own thing, and trying to create our own unique sound, which I definitely think they did.
Absolutely. And I can kind of see his point on, like, they're not political. Like, you know, like Mrs. Robinson. I can kind of see it with Sound of Silence. It's not very political. Bridge Over Troubled Water. Like, I totally get that. But then you get into something like, and granted, this is his solo career, but like Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard, which is obviously about has strong implications of racism, and it's like, how is that not political?
Yeah, yeah. So like, I don't know if it's just honing in on that specific time in their music where they decided to do that, and then when he went off on his solo career, he's like, all right, deuces, I'm gonna do what I want to now.
Okay, so all right, so maybe not so much the beatnik movement, but like what kind of like sets them apart in that, or like what's like the like the kickoff moment for them? And
So the first studio album is Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. That doesn't gain a lot of traction. Not a lot of people know of it. The Sound of Silence actually is released on that first album, but then the actual album, The Sound of Silence, comes out later. And I think, I'm like, let me look at my notes, but I don't remember exactly. So Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. is October of 64. That's their debut studio album. And then Sound of Silence is January of 66. So that also obviously has Sound of Silence on it. But Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. doesn't become that popular until Sound of Silence does. That's where they really hit the map. That's where everybody gets excited about their music. And I think that, then once people start to get to know their sound, they're like, oh, I want more of that. And they go back to Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. I think it hit maybe top 30 in the Billboard, which is interesting to say because there's some covers on Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. The Times They Are A-Changin' is on there. So I think they're still right. Sorry. Right. So it's like, I think it's interesting how like from that very first studio album to Sound of Silence, just the difference between the two.
I mean, absolutely. Sorry, I was thinking, what year is the Dustin Hoffman movie? Because that's the soundtrack, right?
Yeah, that's The Graduate, and that's February of 68.
Okay, so we're still a few years from them.
Yep.
It is kind of surreal to think about just how kind of like short an actual time frame it is. Like it's crazy to think that like the Beatles were, what was that, 64 to 73?
Something along those lines.
Yeah, and they pumped out a lot. They were freaking writing machines, but
and that's because of their ringleader. That's because of, again, a Paul.
Yeah,
that was like, we need to get into the studio. We need to keep making music and recording stuff, and and then it just kind of, I don't know that it pushed everybody to the edge necessarily, but I think when they get into those the Get Back sessions, if you've watched any of that, you can just tell there's tension in the room. And while I'd love to blame it all on Yoko screaming in the corner, doing weird performance art stuff, like, no judgment. I'm sure there are people out there that love that stuff, and that's great. Not for me. But I think that the mentality there, they were definitely falling apart before she was ever a part of the picture. But then we get All Things Must Pass from George Harrison. And we get Paul McCartney and Wings. He goes off on holiday in Scotland and, I don't know, frolics with sheep. I'm not really sure how long he's there.
Doesn't?
Right.
What else do you do in Scotland?
Yeah, you go find some sheep and you
some
frolic.
sheep and some cows, some Highland cows.
Yeah. Cute.
But right, they're so cute. But yeah, I think it's just really interesting to see kind of like how a group comes together and then when they part, what happens to the solo career and what people have been waiting to say, and now they have the means and the time to say it.
We are getting a rising tension between the two at this point, with growing, not fame necessarily yet. Kind of with Sound of Silence.
Yeah. We're getting there. We're trucking, because the next one that comes out after that is Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme, which is a little lesser known. It's my personal favorite. Scarborough Fair is on there. It's really good.
What are the years of the albums again? Sorry.
So Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. is 64. Then Sound of Silence, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme are 66. The Graduate, 68.
Oh, they're both in the same year.
Bookends is 68. And then Bridge Over Troubled Water is 70.
Wow.
That is crazy that they pumped out 2 essentially albums in a year.
Yeah.
Especially at that time when it was so much more manual.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what sort of instances are we seeing between the two? We've talked about having internal monologue to kind of, and I like that. This is what sets it apart from these other biopics, like Complete Unknown, like Bohemian Rhapsody, like Elvis. recently, Baz Luhrmann.
Yes.
Which is not bad. That's actually it's a good one.
It really is.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how much I liked it.
I thought I was gonna fucking hate it, but no, it was good. This one is like two people, and we're probably gonna get it with the Beatles as well. Essentially two people.
Yep.
But like having like two sides of the same story that you're watching at that time is a unique take on this biopic kind of formatting. So what kind of instances are we going to see tension at this point in their careers with this growing fame? And
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely in the studio, because they both work at a different pace. And now that Sound of Silence has taken off, they've done extremely well. You've got a record label that's continuing to, pump stuff out, get us stuff recorded so that we can edit it. So I think that really the pacing of their career is starting to move forward in a way that maybe they're not both on the same page for that.
Just for my reference, when you say they're different pace, does Paul work harder than Art? Is that what I'm gathering, or
I
how?
don't know if it's harder, just different. They just
different methods.
Yeah.
Okay.
could it be like Paul is like, all right, we need to finish these lyrics today, and Art is like, we'll just we'll get in the studio and I'll kind of figure it out.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Because I think Art definitely was part of some of the arranging, which is cool. Paul. Art was part of some of the arranging, but Paul wrote most of the songs, if not all of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, are there other tension points beyond that, or is that just like the main one?
I think that's the main one.
Okay.
And then, at a certain point, Art decides he wants to become an actor. And so then there's artistic differences there because he wants to pursue this other career. It's right as they're recording Bridge Over Troubled Water. And so then Paul's like, well, I don't feel supported. I feel like I'm doing this all by myself anyway. And he starts kind of doing his own recording without telling Art, which makes Art upset. So he's like, well, you started it. You're the one who went off and got a different career.
Did Art have a successful acting career?
No, it was.
Okay, I figured because I never.
Pretty much a flop, which makes me feel so bad. I feel like he just tries so hard.
I mean, if you see a picture of him, he had a face for radio. So.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, just salt of the earth guy. Anytime I've watched interviews and stuff, he just seems super sweet, and like I said, I love his voice. I'm never gonna not praise his voice, but he's just kind of like the cherry on top of this group for sure.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at pictures of him. You guys are very correct. It is not what I expect out of an actor.
Yes, yeah.
How does their tension come out to each other? Are they passive aggressive? Are they is it big band fights kind of thing, throwing chairs at each other?
I think passive aggressive at first, because I want to say Art is pretty passive to begin with, and then Paul Simon is just a very strong personality. And when you get those two people in a room for a long enough time and they become a duo, it's after a while that passive person is going to resent the one that always tries to take control and take over the room.
Sure.
So I think that it's just a ticking time bomb. After a while, he's like, oh my God, I'm so tired of this, and that's why he's like, I'm going to go do my own thing and pursue acting. And I'm like, oh man, I wish it would have worked out for you, but
That's so
so sorry, Art.
That's so interesting that even their way of expressing anger is different. It's so crazy because I don't know about you, but I do genuinely love them together. I try if there was a way they could have worked it out, is there You Can Call Me Al, but Art is part of the vocals, or me and Julio Down by the School, but or any of his solo career, what are those songs with Art still on them? And it's kind of one of those interesting historical things to think about, how what if this one thing changed? What changes?
Yeah. And it's interesting too, again, in interviews, because I can only go based off of what's been thrown out there. But
wait, you don't know them personally?
Oh man, I freaking wish. But they've always said, or at least Paul has always said, we never really got along. I think that they always banded together because of the music, and that's what made them friends. And then as they were going through the process of recording, being around each other all the time. And when you're in a duo, you don't have anybody else to bounce off of. You're like, God, this guy fucking sucks, but you can't tell anybody. Your sound engineer,
Yeah.
So I think that it becomes a really small room really quickly when you have no one to confide in.
Is there anyone else in the studio? Is there a sound engineer that they would work with?
Yes, yeah, there'd be a sound engineer and a producer.
Well,
I believe.
I mean, but like one that they would work with through
Often,
the years.
yes,
Okay.
I believe so, and I do not recall that
Okay,
dude's
that's
name.
fine.
I'll be totally awesome. Yeah.
We'll call him Greg.
Okay,
Greg.
good old Greg. Greg.
Greg. Greg.
Just imagining him the team.
Well, now it's old
My
Greg.
downstairs mix up.
Now it's just old Greg. It's what's his name? That British comedian.
Oh, the Boof something Boof.
Yeah, the mighty
Boosh.
Boosh.
Boots.
It's Boosh.
Something. Yeah.
The mighty Boosh.
Something around that.
British sketch comedy group.
Lost me there.
Oh, yeah.
Noel Fielding. That's his name.
Nice.
He's one of the hosts of Bake Off right now. I don't like him so much as the host of Bake Off, but he's also on Taskmaster for a season, and it's really great. We got to talk about Taskmaster later. Jason Mantzoukas is going to be on it pretty soon, so I think you're about to start one. It's really funny. It's comedians doing weird tasks. So it's very funny. I think you'd like it. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
So they're recording with old Greg.
Yep, old Greg.
Simon is a little more vocal about his anger. Art kind of like is passive about it, but maybe it could even be that way where Paul takes it as like he's blowing me off kind of thing,
Yep.
which really can set people off.
Oh yeah, and he definitely does. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when they're in this last session recording "Bridge Over Troubled Water," and he's like, "Where is he?" I feel like I'm doing this all by myself.
Yeah.
So then he's like, "Well, then fine, I am gonna do my own thing," and so that's kind of the beginning of the end for them.
I would definitely like to. This probably never happened in real life. We don't know, but I definitely want like. I think it'd be great if like near the height of the tension, Art Garfunkel throws a chair at Paul's.
Okay. And I mean, I imagine after knowing somebody that many years, they've probably seen you angry. I am sure those fights probably got intense.
Yeah.
I am sure.
You got to Bobby Knight him.
You got to Bobby Knight him.
Total chair.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Parks and Rec?
I mean, parts of it.
There's one point where they
through.
throw a town music festival,
Yeah.
and they get this cover band, the Bobby Knight Riders,
Right, man.
and they do oh crap, is that not Fogerty? It's who's Margaritaville? Who's that guy?
Jimmy
Jimmy
Buffett.
Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett. His band's called the Knight Riders, right? Like Jimmy Buffett and the Knight Riders.
Is it?
I think so.
You're a parrot head, though, if you're a fan of Jimmy Buffett, right?
Yeah,
I
but
think
like his
so.
band.
But his band is called something different. Okay.
I think they're called. Yeah, I think they're called the Knight Riders. So they just do.
Maybe.
Is that Jimmy Buffett or is it someone else? Look it up, Sean.
Who has the band The Knight Riders?
Yeah, is it just the Knight? It's not. Wait, who? Pew, pew, that song.
You're not going to get me with that.
I'm really fucking
Don't
up this
think The
podcast.
Knight Riders is something.
This is my own podcast, and I'm fucking it up, guys.
And like the only one other group I can think of is the Heartbreakers, and that's Tom Petty.
That's Tom Petty. Whatever. There's a old band called the Knight Riders, and so they get this cover band, the
Yes.
Bobby Knight Riders,
Yeah.
and they cover all the Knight Rider songs, but they're all dressed like Bobby Knight, and at the end of their set, they all throw their chairs.
That's a great bit.
I thought it was a bit that you would enjoy.
I do like that a lot.
Sorry again, old Greg.
Old Greg.
Old Greg.
Okay, and oh man, like kind of like the top of Act 1, or not the top, but like the climax of Act 1 kind of has to be that recording, like a bridge over troubled water, and Art is not there.
Yeah, because that's kind of the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so. It's like Paul in the studio alone working on like a bridge over troubled water, and like that internal monologue of where the fuck is Art? Hard cut to Art auditioning for or like on the set
I was
of
doing
a movie
terrible
that no
job
one's ever
acting.
fucking heard of.
Yeah, he was Catch-22, I guess.
Oh God, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. He wasn't Catch-22.
If you want to know, I pulled up his filmography to see. That's right.
That's the only one I know of, so I'm sure there's others, but
Yeah, no, like, I mean, please.
You want to hear? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, maybe he's been in something I
Can't be that long, right?
1970, yeah, Catch-22 debut screen role. 1971, Carnal Knowledge. He got a nomination for a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Golden Globe.
Then he followed that up with Acts of Love and Other Comedies, and he played Nick. This was a television film. Then 1975, yeah, it's already gone downhill. But he's on Saturday Night Live as himself. I think they tried to put Art or Simon Garfunkel together on that episode.
That sounds
I'm pretty
right.
sure that's right.
Yeah, and that was like the whole gambit. And then not something until 1980. Bad timing. And then another one in 1980. He was the Mighty Oak on Laverne and Shirley.
Oh.
Then it's like very few off that. He was on Frasier. He was the voice or something.
He was on Law and Order, obviously.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Everyone is.
Yeah.
I've been on Law and Order.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, he was in like 3 films in 4 years, and one was a television film. So not great. Not great. Not
Yeah.
great.
So he's on the set of Catch-22, fucking it up. What sort of internal monologue could we get from Art?
At this point.
Yes, and here's the thing: it's like, I know you don't know these people. You're looking off notes. You're thinking of interviews. This is your movie, Ashley. I want you to take license with it. I want you to take ownership of it.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
All right, so at this point, I think this is the boiling point for Art. Like, he is going into this audition with the full, like, gusto of, like, fuck you, Paul. This is finally, like, his way of breaking away from everything, because he feels forgotten always throughout the entirety of their career. And so I think this is his final way of just being like, this is for me. I'm doing this for me. It's day one of my new life. Da-da-da. And I think it would be really strong at this point then to also have Paul's other inner monologue discussing, like, where the fuck is Art? What's happening here? And maybe have like a double screen, split screen of the two of them working opposite each other. I don't know. I really feel like it's important to highlight, like, we're there. Like, this is it.
It could be like the internal monologues are having the back and forth that they themselves are not having.
Yes. Yeah. Like, this is what I would say to you if I could.
Yeah. Is the band as they're like, as it is existing, is it like this idea that Art Garfunkel is second fiddle? Is it like Simon and Garfunkel?
Yeah.
Is that the perception at the time?
I think that it was pretty obvious to a lot of people that he was like the band leader and took charge of everything. I don't know like how well it was known while they were in the midst of making all of these great albums together. But if you ever look back at any of the interviews, it's, so if anyone was paying attention, yes, I think that they were probably much more concerned with the music that was coming out than anything else.
That's fair.
Like if I think about any current bands I listen to, I'm hardly ever concerning myself with their personal lives or, their...
See, I'm not either, but I feel like everyone else is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, depending on what it is, I suppose. Like, if it's some really big news headline, then I suppose it's hard to get away from something like that. But
yeah, but I just feel like people are like, oh, like, yeah, I love Sabrina Carpenter. She was doing this, and like she was like, I don't know, she appeared in like this person's music video, and it's like, I don't hear people talking about their music so much more than like I hear people talking, not to like shit on modern
that's
day
true
music,
though.
but it does feel
Now that you say that,
like,
Well, it's a marketing campaign.
well, that's
It's more marketing.
Yeah, there is more
centric.
marketing behind it all now, I suppose, because there is more of an industry behind it now. But also, it's just like, I guess I grew up as like a music person, so like it's like I sit down, I listen to the album, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is an album. And then like, oh, but she's so funny in person. It's like, well, I'm never gonna fucking meet her.
Right. But I think too, like at the time, concept albums were huge. Like telling a story mattered. Lyricism was an important thing. Like, I mean, not that I don't like house music. I think it's great. Like I'll bop to that any day. But if we're talking about like comparatively the other music that was happening at the time, I mean, lyricism is important all over the place. And I mean, everybody's starting to experiment with other things, other vices as well. And I don't really know how deep they get into it. I know they definitely smoke pot for sure.
Oh yeah.
There is a famous
Garfunkel's there not smoking
Right,
pot.
I
No
mean,
way.
You saw his
there's
hair.
he was like a deer in headlights. But there's a scene from Almost Famous where Frances McDormand, who plays the mom, catches Zoe Deschanel, the daughter. She's like, "What do you have hiding under your coat there?" And she pulls it out, and it's Bookends by Simon and Garfunkel. And she's like, Mom, just no, you can't take it from me. It's pure art. She's like, oh, they're totally smoking the pot, you know? And so, like, every time I think about the influence of drugs, like, in the era and how it sort of perpetuated things in a different direction for a lot of bands, I'm like, I know that they definitely were doing that. I don't really know that it was anything harder than that. But, like,
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important to compare it just because there's so many other sounds and things that are coming out. Like the synth is becoming huge in this area of music. And people are experimenting with different, like the Beatles, if you listen to A Day in the Life and what they had to do to make all of those sounds happen, which I heard some random guy at a bar play that live. And I was like, I don't know how he's doing this. I mean, he had a looping pedal, but also like, I don't know. I don't know who he's friends with. Or it's somewhere in high places.
Fun story about that song, Day in the Life.
Yeah.
So it ends with that big piano chord. So it was multiple pianos, all four of them and their producer. So they had 5 pianos, all mic'd up, and they literally turned like the recording level as high as possible on the mics to get the holdout of the chord for as long as possible. So they all hit the chord together and then have to stand there in complete silence for fear of being caught on the mics because they're so hot. You can hear someone's shoe squeak because they just like shift their foot like just a little, but they just had to keep it just because it's like it was the best one we had, like or whatever, because that's just how it fucking was. And it was just like, it's like, oh man, that's such a fun little fucking story.
That's so cool.
Another fun Beatles story. Sorry, I love the Beatles.
Yes.
Oh, what song is it? Is it Get Back? I think it's Get Back. There's a part where. Oh no! It's the Rolling Stones. Fuck. Sorry. Well, now I have to tell the story.
Oh, I love the Rolling Stones.
So he's singing "Rape, Murder, It's Just a Shot Away." That Rolling Stones song. There's a part where he's singing "Rape and Murder," but he starts laughing, and it's because Keith Richards mooned him as he was recording. So he's just laughing as he's singing about rape and murder and how awful it is, or how it's society perpetuates it and stuff like that. So
I actually have a story about that song too.
Ooh.
The gospel singer they got to sing on that, the Rape Murder.
Yeah.
She was called up at like 4 a.m. She still had curlers in her hair. And they're like, will you do a take? Will you do like a quick take on this song? And she's like, what am I singing? And she was pregnant at the time and had a miscarriage.
Oh no.
And allegedly after this second take that she did because she put so much into it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because Keith Richards mooned
Oh,
her.
no.
Because Keith Richards is like, you want some cocaine?
No. But I always thought that was an interesting story too.
I didn't hear about the miscarriage part. I have heard the called up at 4 a.m. curlers in her hair, pregnant.
But
I didn't hear miscarriage part.
Crazy.
But wow, yeah, that is crazy. Anyways, old Greg.
Yeah, old Greg.
Sorry.
Oh, I also think we could introduce women at this point that they were both
okay.
interested in. I mean, it kind of comes towards the end as they're getting into Bridge Over Troubled Water. We can skew that timeline a little bit to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
I think Paul is with Peggy something or other first. And that's like his first main girlfriend, then became wife. And they were, I think, together from late 60s to early 70s. And then he was with Carrie Fisher.
Oh, really?
For like,
Rest in peace,
for
Queen.
a year. They were married for a year.
Best year of his life.
One
I
of
know.
those.
And I just think about like if somebody asked her to comment on their marriage and she was like, yeah, I was just done with that. And I was like, bye. So I think that would be really interesting to bring in some of the females that were also inspiring their life. I don't remember any of Art's people. Let me look. Because he eventually married somebody in 88.
Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, he also married Carrie Fisher. Hold on a second.
I'll get back at you, Paul.
Yeah.
She has notes. Is this the first time we've had notes?
Yes.
Oh,
I
that's
think so.
embarrassing.
No, actually,
No,
I
it's
don't know.
incredible.
People maybe most of the time I think have it on their phone sometimes.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Might be the first printed out notes.
Love
It's
it.
only because I have a giant ass printer
might as
for
well
my
use that.
job. And I'm like, you know what? If that spaceship is going to stay docked in this apartment, then I'm printing this shit.
There you go.
I use the printers at my office.
There it's stuck. Okay,
Yeah, that's fair.
Paul married Peggy Harper in 69. They divorced in 75. And then, he wasn't with Carrie until the early 80s. They were only married for 1 year.
Post
Post first one at least.
Yep. And then, probably shortly after her super hot affair with Harrison Ford. Love that.
I'd watch that porn.
She covers it
mad at
briefly in The Princess Diarist.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Highly recommend. She's hilarious.
She
I
is
love
funny.
her. And then Art, there was a brief marriage to Linda Grossman in the early 70s. And then he had a relationship with an actress who unfortunately committed suicide in the late 70s.
Aye.
And then got married to an actress, Kim Cermak, in 88. And he had 2 sons with her.
Okay.
So there's definitely some female energy up in here that we can throw in to make things interesting.
That's fair, and I think it's a good thing to add women
Yeah.
to the cast as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What sort of influence do you see these? I mean, let's call them characters. We're making a movie. What do you? And we might be skewing their actual, like what they actually did in reality. What kind of influence do you see these characters having on Simon and Garfunkel?
I mean, definitely on the writing. There are a handful of songs out there that I'm like, that had to have been about a specific person. Like for Emily, Wherever I May Find Her, Kathy's song. Just these songs that definitely have become pretty ubiquitous, I think, in culture, but also just there's so many specifics referred to that it's like this has to be about a specific experience with one person.
So you see them as like their relationships are essentially muses.
Yeah,
for
I
the
think in a
writing.
way, or just
okay.
like their experiences with them. And the things that are brought up in conversation and what becomes resolved and unresolved and all of the fun things about being in a romantic relationship with someone.
Is there, because obviously we talked a lot about the tensions. Mm-hmm. Are we going to have moments where we see them, Simon and Garfunkel, I mean, kind of like in their element together? Are we ever like, is there any sort of, and you've watched interviews or listened to interviews, do they ever make mentions of like, oh yeah, like we were great at writing, like when we could write together, we were great at it, or anything like that?
I think, I mean, for the sake of this biopic, yes. I think we have to have that moment. Like, they couldn't have possibly hated every single second of being around each other. It sounds like there's a personality clash big time.
Sure.
But, I mean, what they were making together, pretty phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, like, especially with The Sound of Silence, which is the album that kind of skyrocketed them to fame, especially those sessions, if they're hyper-focused on in this biopic, for example. I think showing enjoyment between the two of them of drafting music and arrangements and coming together to make something happen, like, there's got to be some joyful moments
or
there.
perhaps like a respect.
Yes.
Or like an admiration for each other's talent.
Yeah.
Like you talked about earlier about how Art was listening to gospel music and that inspired him to write the lyrics for like Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Paul, yes.
Oh, Paul was.
But I think it's allegedly that Paul first discovered Art's voice at a talent show at school, and that's why he initially was like, "Oh, hey."
Throw that in the at the beginning of the movie, like how they met, like
because they met doing that because they were both. I think they grew up a few blocks from each other in Queens.
Okay.
Went to the same school, and then I think they were in Alice in Wonderland together, and then he also heard Art's voice and was like, "I think we should do something together," and that's how Tom and Jerry was formed. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So amidst the moments of tension, we are having these scenes where like they are impressing each other with the work, what they bring to the table. And I also think it'd be like going back to the internal monologue aspect of this movie, like points where like the monologues are they're maybe even saying the same exact thing and they're saying it at the same time, that split screen kind of thing you mentioned earlier, where like internally they agree on a lot, but there are just dynamic differences that, they can't get over.
Yeah.
Going back to the girlfriends, soon to be wives, at this point, I like that as well, especially because it's not like, we're not saying like, it's not a Yoko Ono situation, it's not someone like bringing their own thing to the table.
Yeah, or like Joan Baez, when in the most recent A Complete Unknown, they have kind of a whole side story about her and Bob and the start of her career and all of that. Like, no, we don't really need a whole lot of spotlight on their personal lives per se.
Yeah,
but I think it's
more like what their relationship, how their relationships affect Art and Paul in their processes.
Agreed.
And I like those because you could even have like moments where it's like similar things where like, oh, they're both finding happiness kind of in the same way. And that's what I think a lot of this movie is. It's reflections of each other. Mm-hmm. And it's literally a spot the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. These are the two same pictures, but like 5 things are different between them, and you as the audience get to watch and figure out the differences.
And that's it kind of highlights the original idea I had for the title, which is In the Dangling Conversation.
In the Dangling, yeah.
Which is like the dangling conversation and the superficial size, the borders of our lives. Mm-hmm. It's like shit.
Yeah, it's right there.
It's right there. Yeah.
Yeah,
the
but
whole time.
we did market test it, and Sound of Silence sells better.
Oh
so.
yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of Act 2 is Art acting. Mm-hmm. A bit more. Act 1 feels a bit more like Paul's side of it, and Act 2 is going to be more Art's side of it, as well as the girlfriends and kind of seeing their changes.
Yes.
So at this point, we're getting into The Graduate. We're getting into these last 2 albums, right?
Yeah, so, The Graduate predates Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, you could start Act 2 with Bridge Over Troubled Water and then ease into the separation and Art's career and Paul Simon's solo stuff that he starts to record, because that all becomes extremely important as we get into the early 80s and the Live in Central Park album.
So tell us about this final album. Tell us about the actual breakup of the band.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's basically after Bridge Over Troubled Water happens. They recorded in 70. It comes out in 71. Their last, I think, full concert together is the concert in Central Park, aside from any of the like special appearances they were asked to be on later in life.
SNL. We'll get to it.
SNL, yep. So, yeah, I mean, essentially, it's what I've mentioned previously, which is like Art going off to explore his acting career, Paul feeling left behind. And then I think the big kicker was Paul choosing to do some recordings of his own on music of his own. Mm-hmm. And one of those was My Little Town, which ends up on both of their first solo albums, which is really interesting. Yeah, because it's like, once again, spot the difference. Like, and I think I honestly like both of their versions equally. So it's interesting. I feel like there are so many things that could have been said, maybe that just weren't being said. and that they both felt extreme betrayal and how the other person was acting during these studio sessions.
It's kind of interesting that like there's nothing bombastic really about this. I do think this is really fucking crazy. They had the same song on both of their first like solo albums. Like imagine that happening. I mean, today, imagine that happening with John and Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, it would never happen with them because they were like, my song's better. No, my song's better. You know,
Yeah.
like it's weird that like they both feel like they have such ownership over the music and both feel like the other one is not there with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Shit.
Right.
That's
And
crazy.
I only recently learned about that when I was talking to my dad the other day, and he's like, oh yeah, My Little Town, it's on both of their solo albums after they split. And I'm like, what?
That's fucking crazy to me.
It is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do actually want to use this SNL. We're gonna use this SNL appearance. I want it to be like fucking Lorne Michaels is like, oh, we'll get him back. I'll get him back together because I'm Lorne Michaels and I think I can do fucking anything. And so he gets Paul Simon on as a musical guest, and he gets Art Garfunkel on to like portray himself in a skit. And like maybe it's like a passing in the stairwell moment. Like neither knew they were gonna be there, and then suddenly they're both there, like in like empty stairwell, no one else is there. And I'm thinking like full Oscar bait, like fucking monologues, like, and like maybe it blows up so much. Art leaves the stairwell. And Paul follows him and is yelling at him, and he says something so crazy that Art throws the chair at him.
You just want a chair
You
thrown.
want that
I want a chair thrown. Who doesn't love a chair? Hey, it's what got fucking Whiplash, you know, a fucking Academy nomination.
Oh, damn. That
So-
film. Something else.
That movie is great. It's a great movie, Sean. You wouldn't like it, but it's a great movie.
Yeah, fair.
It's a little slow for your taste.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
a lot of jazz music.
Yeah, guess what? I need cars are my jazz. Fast cars driving past
Cars
each
and
other.
Coronas.
Cars and Coronas, that's right.
And bald men.
And bald, beefy dudes.
Beefy bald men.
Yeah.
Big meaty men slapping meat.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
Big, meaty men slapping meat.
Goldberg.
Sorry, this is not a reference you would know. And then I will stop.
Pro wrestling.
It's pro wrestling.
Yeah, you would be correct.
I'm going to go home and watch that video, no?
Do you like that SNL? Like, it's a bit shoehorned,
It is a bit shoehorned,
but every Oscar bait scene is shoehorned into
absolutely.
So-
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that would be totally necessary at this point to show, like, I mean, after some time has passed and this is where we find ourselves, like, let's go.
So, and this is all pre Central Park.
Yes.
So, how do they get together to do Central Park?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know.
All right. All right. Not in reality. In the movie,
Yes.
how do they get together to do Central Park? You kind of know the timeline.
Yeah.
You've heard interviews. You know their general thoughts and feelings about their lives,
Yeah.
their careers.
I think, I mean, obviously, Paul's solo career has done extremely well up to this point, and they're pitching like, oh, we're going to give you a spot in Central Park, but only if you do and Garfunkel. Like, only if you pay homage to the first part of your career.
Who's they?
The people with the money.
Lorne Michaels.
Sometimes I think I hyper focus on all these other specifics, and then I forget about, like, oh yeah, there had to be people to be like, hey, go play this concert in Central Park. And they were like, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there were some heated discussions leading up to that day.
Sure.
But I hope that in a way it's a bit of a reconciliation for them too. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that they were just approached by the right people and offered enough money to do it.
Is it all the money in the movie, or could we have like maybe
A more sentimental.
not completely
Yeah,
sentimental?
give me that bag.
Yeah.
Not a completely sentimental, because I'm actually building to something that I don't want to tell you yet.
Okay. Okay.
But some sort of meeting where it's like they agree to work, like maybe a little begrudgingly, but
Like
agreement.
almost like a divorced couple in a room with their attorneys across the table. And they're like, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, like they're not happy, but it's best for our child if
Yes. Yeah.
if we, you know,
for the
if we do this, you know, calmly and nicely and just like get through it kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that could work.
Okay, cool. All right, here's what I was thinking. So we have that where it's begrudging, and we, you know, we can also have scenes of like the stage getting set up, sound checks, that kind of the process kind of thing, the mechanics of it, where they're passively nice to each other. They're saying like, "Your turn to mic check," you know, like they're just being curt for fear of being mad at each other. And so we get these scenes where we think they're not okay, you know, like they're you know, there is still that tension underneath it all, and it's just waiting to explode. And our audience has already seen at the beginning the boxer where Art comes in early and Simon gives that glare, and it's building back to that. It's basically the same exact shot as well. But this time it doesn't fade out into the sound of silence. They play the boxer. And it's that stare, and it's that internal monologue again. But this time the monologue is like, we didn't always get along, but Art was always the man for me. Like it's like I don't have any regrets because everything that happened in my life brought me to this moment. And like, again, like, because I've watched the DVD, I'm sure you've seen recordings of it.
Yeah.
It's a great motherfucking concert.
It is. It's insane.
It is like, it is crazy. It's insane. It's electric, which is crazy because their music is not electric.
No, yeah. I mean, it definitely like hits a certain place in the feels for sure.
Yeah.
It's extremely layered and a lot of personality, but it's not one of those things that you'd think like a bunch of people are going to gather in Central Park to hear it.
Yeah.
Like a Pitbull concert.
Yeah.
Sure, yes. They were the Pitbull of their time.
No, that's a joke. Yeah.
That's going to be on the motherfucking movie poster. That's a tagline.
The Pitbull of their time.
Pitbull of their time. That's how we get Gen Z.
You were saying exciting.
Dolly!
Dolly! It's a 305!
Wow. Anyway,
Sorry.
so it's that internal, as they're doing the boxer, it's the internal monologue has changed. And like that look has changed. Like it's the same shot, but because the internal monologue has changed, because the reference that the audience is watching it with now has changed. There's a different sentiment to that look.
I like that.
Where it's not hatred, it's more like this is who they are. This is Simon and Garfunkel.
Yes.
That tension is part of the craft.
We made this together.
Yeah. And then we get obvious shots of the concert. We can even use the actual motherfucking footage.
Yeah.
Just use the actual footage, and it's just, you know, of the concert and songs, and obviously Sound of Silence and these other, you know, other great songs.
Which I think is maybe the last song they sing is The Sound of Silence.
Yeah.
Or at least it is the last one on.
No, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like audience cheering, fade out, you know, fade to white. I like that.
Yeah.
And then it like fades back in, and it's like, oh man, what year did they have that reconciling discussion?
2024.
2024. So 1981 to 2024, 43 years. So we get
Give or
that.
take.
Little,
And I mean, they have, you know, little nuances along the way where they were like asked to sing for, you know, different dedications to directors and things. I mean, their paths crossed multiple times before them, but they didn't actively work together.
Yeah. It was very like professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we cut to 43 years later, and I didn't actually watch this. I heard about it, but I didn't watch this a conversation between them. Can you like describe like how it was formatted, and like what was said and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, from what I know, it was extremely emotional. It was really digging up a lot of bits and pieces of their past, but I think it was the first time they were really actually able to enjoy what they created. But also by going over like, hey, that time in the studio when you did this, or like when you walked away and tried to pursue your acting career, it did this, and they were finally able to actually come together and have a real conversation about what was happening during that time. And I mean, really not a whole lot of details were leaked out there for the greater good.
Okay, so it was like a more private.
It was definitely a private conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is all like based on what's posted on the internet.
Sure.
But yeah, I think for the sake of this film, it definitely needs to get personal. And it'd be a great time to really kind of reflect on that change in mood during Sound of Silence and the inner monologue of showing like, all right, yeah, we did do something pretty special. And being able to like appreciate that, but also be real with each other.
I would say there's probably no internal monologue at that point.
Yeah.
Just because they don't need it anymore.
Yeah, no,
it's coming out.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you know how that conversation ends?
I think it ends with a lot of hope. It sounds like they were hopeful that they could rekindle their friendship at the very least, whether or not they're moving forward and working together again, up in the air. And I mean, they're not getting any younger.
No.
No.
But maybe it ends, if it's hope, because it was a private conversation and like only snippets got out. I'd say like, for the sake of the movie, we have like the scene is actually watching them have the conversation, and there's a reporter. They have someone in the room with them. Their wives or whoever. And for the sake of the movie, maybe the dialogue can be like, "Hey, do you want to work together again?" And it's like them like actually like talking about like, "Yeah, like, well, fuck, why not?"
Yeah.
And it's not so grand. It's not like this big grand, like, oh, they're reuniting. It's more just like two friends being like, hey, you want to try, like, hey, you want to make music together again? And like, but that is hope because of what we know they can make together. And so that potential thought of like, oh, they're going to try this again.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think it needs to end simple because, I mean, really, there was nothing like super intense really about their entire career. It's not like you're going to watch a light show or something. Like, it was always about the music. And so it would be really cool to just end on how their personal relationship stands the test of time.
Additionally, I like that scene because I think more and more, maybe slowly, like baby steps, but I think society is trying to be like, oh, men have had issues processing their emotions and like emotional dialogue and stuff. And I think this scene could be an opportunity to like have that and also be a reflection of like guys, learn how to do this before you're really old, before you maybe have one foot in the grave,
Right.
like so that you can one, work out your own shit, while you still have time, but also to like, maybe make things better. We talked about like, what if Paul wrote, those solo songs, You Can Call Me Al, Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard. What if he wrote the songs while still working with Art? Like, would those songs be better? I don't know. That's subjective, but they would be different. And that's interesting to think about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. The last thing I say, so they say, hey, you want to do this together again? You want to give this one more shot? Yeah, that sounds good. Hug. Cut to black, credits. We need a needle drop. What song's getting played as the credits roll?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Old Friends.
Oh, okay.
Which might be like poignant. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Sound of Silence has been hit multiple times throughout the film at this point, so maybe not that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I would choose is Old Friends because it's reminiscent of what's happening in the moment.
Fuck yeah.
I thought you were going to say a mid-credits scene and it's outtakes from Art Garfunkel's acting career.
Please. Oh, man.
It's like we actually see Art Garfunkel's audition. And it's like terrible.
Take one.
Take 33. That'd be really funny.
Oh my god.
I will say we don't get like the mid-credits like bloopers as much anymore
I
in
know.
movies.
Bums me out.
It's a shame.
It is.
Just imagine like I don't know, something like Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, just like halfway through the credits, just like seeing like Dracula being like, "Oh, I fucked up that."
Because blooper, I could be wrong with this, but her bloopers, maybe it wasn't for every film, but for some films, wasn't it just so it could get like past 90 minutes or something? Or am I making that up?
yes, that
That
is
part
Oh,
to
I
extend
never
it. And
knew
movies
that.
now are a lot longer than that, and I don't know. I feel like that was for some, especially particularly probably not good movies. They usually did bloopers just to
Yeah,
push it.
I also wonder if there's maybe like a it's more about the company than the actors.
Yeah.
Like imagine a Marvel movie doing that, right? Disney doesn't want that. They want people to come because of Marvel, not because of, and we see that it is failing like right now. Like these movies are continuously having less and less viewership, less and less box office numbers because it was never about Marvel. I mean, it kind of was, but like it was about Robert Downey Jr. and how good he was as Iron Man, and then it was like, oh, Chris Hemsworth is motherfucking Thor. Like, those are his arms in like real life. It's crazy.
Those are his real arms.
Those are his real human arms. That's actually a Chris Evans quote. He's like, everyone says I have a great body. Look at Chris. Like he's at a panel. He's at a thing with him, and he's like, He's like, I'm jacked. Chris Hemsworth is Thor. Like he's like, and it fucking sucks. It's great. So.
Can I tie this real quick in a bow? Because you brought up Sabrina Carpenter. I don't know if you saw SNL 50, but to start
Bits
the
and
show,
pieces, yeah.
to start the show, is Sabrina Carpenter and Paul Simon.
Was it really?
That's how they started the show, with those two facing the camera. I'm pretty sure.
So I know Paul Simon's been on SNL a lot.
Oh yeah, like he's Lauren Michaels' like best friend.
Yeah.
You know, like they love. Yeah. So.
Motherfucking
Just
Lorne
tying it together. You brought up Sabrina Carpenter, Lauren Michaels.
That's the bloopers. It's Lauren. It's all just Lorne Michaels scenes.
Yeah, I can't do it, Lauren Michaels.
Dang it, I was excited.
I was trying to think. It's Dr. Evil. That's all it is. That's what Mike Myers is, Dr. Evil.
Really?
It's based off of Lauren
He based
Michaels.
Dr. Evil off
I'm
of
pretty
Lorne
sure.
Michaels?
I
In fact,
did not
I mean,
know that.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
I love
and because
that.
like when I'm listening to a podcast, the Seth Meyers and Lonely Island podcast, where they just review and they do their own Lauren impression, it's like Dr. Evil. So yeah,
That is incredible.
That is great. Have you seen the Saturday Night Live movie?
no, I've not. No, I've heard good things.
It's really good. Yeah. It's really good.
Been on my list.
What is it on? I think it's on.
Probably Peacock.
I think it's on Peacock.
Freaking everything is, isn't it?
Oh,
So
well.
it seems.
It's
Yeah.
that or Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
And that sucks because like I had a friend I still have a friend. I have a friend who has the login. She logged into it one day and I saw that Twin Peaks was on it and I was like, "Oh, I've never seen Twin Peaks." So I started watching it. Season 1 is 8 episodes. I watched through episode 7 and I was like, "Oh, I got to stop." You come back to it. You have to log in each time. So I was like, I don't know her login info because it's like her mom's password. You know,
Oh,
stuff
sure.
Like that. So and I was like that, and that's totally fair. And I was like, well, guess I'm not watching Twin Peaks. Like, fuck. Don't know who killed Laura
All the way
Palmer.
up through episode 7 and you can't even finish it. That's
No,
so
I
sad.
know. Yeah, well, say I love you. I watched all of ER instead.
There you go.
So, any other like things we may have missed? Anything you like? I mean, you got a lot of notes.
Yeah,
Is there anything you
that's-
kind of want in there? Like, is there anything that you were like looking forward to adding? in?
So the only thing I would mention is I did look out in the interwebs about if anybody had actually posted about a Simon and Garfunkel biopic, because I'm like, is it out there? Do the people want it?
Yeah.
And there was a Reddit post, and someone said, "I want you to cast Ben Platt as Paul Simon and Jonathan
makes
Groff as Art Garfunkel." And
Okay,
I
that'd be
totally
pretty good.
see Jonathan as Art. I don't know if I see Ben as Paul.
I would.
I say facial. So I don't know.
I would
I mean,
honestly-
I
structure.
facial
was gonna say-
structure for sure.
I get the
I
facial
just
structure.
think-
I would flip him. I think.
Would you really?
Nah.
Because of the hair. I think Ben Platt has that.
Well, that was mostly for just Dear Evan Hansen, wasn't it?
Doesn't Groff have that hair?
Groff has crazy hair.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Groff would fit that.
Jonathan Groff?
Yeah.
I will say, I really only know him from Mindhunters,
Okay.
where he has a very slicked.
Oh.
He has very slick hair.
Yeah, I
So-
normally remember him in pictures with like crazy curly.
Well, I mean, you've probably known him since Spring Awakening, probably.
Yes.
So
yeah.
that's fair. Like I know him from Mindhunters, and then, Frozen.
Right.
So, I mean, those are.
His hair isn't nearly as fluffy as I remember, but it fit the part.
Oh, we can make that work.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
make it. You can give him Garfunkel
I think.
hair.
I don't know. I feel like just Ben Platt has that. Well, because I remember I first saw him in Pitch Perfect.
Oh.
So where he
yeah.
does have that curly hair. So
Touche.
and you can always just give him a perm.
That's true. We
Or
can
put
make
him
it.
in a wig.
Put him in a wig.
Just like the Dear Evan Hansen movie, which
Oh,
went
God.
perfectly.
It was like super,
Okay,
super
the Pitch
good.
Perfect version of
Ben
Ben
Platt.
Platt.
I see it.
Yeah, you see
you
it
can
in
see
Pitch
the
Perfect
Garfunkel.
version.
I
one,
definitely
You can
see
you can
it.
see my reasoning now.
Yeah.
What a
But-
terrible hair.
Well, I was gonna say.
I'm sorry.
If that was the only thing you wanted to mention, did you have anything you wanted to add, Sean, or any jokes you want to make?
I don't really know a ton about Simon and Garfunkel, so I'm sorry I sat this one out a little.
I was gonna
bit.
say-
I know their music like somewhat, but I do not know the lore behind that.
I thought you were just method acting the sound of silence itself. So
Hey.
flawless. Edit that out. Well, I mean, we kind of already started talking about it. Let's go on to the cast list. So do you like Ben Platt and Jonathan Groff as these titular roles?
I think so. I think if it weren't played by them, I feel like it would have to be played by unknowns. Because there's just nobody else I'm thinking of off the top of my head that I'm like,
Like people off Broadway. Or,
yeah, you know, like I.
Lin-Manuel.
Yes. As both of them. As Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh my!
Genius. I mean, if anyone can do
my
it.
old friend.
Oh my God, so good.
I mean, you've heard me sing now. I like to say that I'm a better singer than Lin-Manuel Miranda. Probably not a better writer.
I mean, he is a pretty stellar writer. I will give him that.
So like obviously everyone loves Hamilton, and Hamilton is great. He worked on a revival of West Side Story where he translated a lot of the dialogue and music into Spanish so that it would be more like natural for the sharks. And I was like, that I want to motherfucking see. So that, and when Spielberg was making West Side Story, I was like, is he doing that version? Because that would be motherfucking sick. I haven't seen that.
So cool.
But it would have been so cool to like hear
Yeah.
those songs like in Spanish. Like, I want to be in America. What is that song in Spanish? Like, that would be so fucking cool.
It would be really cool.
So, and I remember like reading like in the newspaper, I was like, who's this Lin-Manuel Miranda guy? This is awesome. And then suddenly, oh, he wrote this musical called Hamilton. And it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I know that guy.
Yeah.
Not personally, but yeah.
God, I wish.
I mean, just walk around New York long enough, you'll run into him.
Oh, there was a tweet of his from a million years ago. He said he was walking by himself in New York, and some lady in a taxi drove by, and she's like, "Congratulations on Hamlet." He was like, "I wish I wrote that."
Anyway, so Jonathan Groff and Ben Platt.
Yep.
I flipped him. Who do you want playing what?
I think I still see Ben as Paul, and I still see John as Art.
Okay, and we know Ben plays guitar, so
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, if you look at Timothy Chalamet, he didn't know how to sing. He didn't know how to play guitar. He spent 5 years intensive learning all of Bob Dylan's songs. So it's like, I mean,
Wild.
it's insane. So it's like, if anybody wants to do it and puts that much effort into it,
that's true.
more power to you. Like, I think anybody is capable if they're willing to put in the time.
That's true. Okay, so Ben Platt as Paul Simon, Jonathan Groff as Art Garfunkel. Old Greg.
Old Greg. Can we just get the original Old Greg? Just
Noel
random-
Fielding?
Just
Noel Fielding?
just have him just randomly like, "You've seen my waters." Like, I don't know.
I drink Baileys from a shoe.
You ever go to a club where people wee on each other?
My wife showed me that video well past like when it was a thing. I
Oh,
was
yeah?
so mad when I watched it. I was like, what
Were
the
you
fuck am I
married yet?
watching? I don't remember if we were technically married. If we were married at that point.
I'll ask this. Were you far enough into the relationship that you were like, I can't break up with her over this?
Yeah. I was well past that.
She's like, this is the litmus
But I
test.
was like, not
if he
that,
breaks
not
up with
that.
me.
Like, she just thought it was weird too, but she enjoyed it. But I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I don't even get the point of this.
If she was like, if he's still with me after this, then he's the one.
He's
Then
the
we
one.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those that, like, I think in the time that I watched it, I loved it. And then when I come back as an adult, I'm like, oh, this is great. And anybody who didn't see it originally is like, what is
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
What is happening here?
No, I think it is funny.
Yeah.
Especially considering that it's, what is it? Like early 90s, late 80s maybe?
I think so.
Yeah. It's from a while ago. So.
Yeah.
Been a while.
Been a while.
Wow.
A lot of music on this podcast, on this episode. Paul Simon.
Dolly.
Pitbull of their time.
I'm never going to get over that.
Anyway. Ben Platt, Jonathan Groff, Noel Fielding. We talked about their girlfriends. Mm-hmm. Do you just want to like square like which girlfriend specifically? Like you said, Penny. I don't know.
Peggy Harper. I was like, I knew it began with an H.
I was gonna say so. Peggy Harper was with Paul Simon.
Yeah.
And then Art was with who?
Art was with, hold please. Linda Grossman in the early 1970s. So that's what would technically line up with this timeline.
And even if they didn't, we fudge it.
Yeah.
So Peggy and Linda, do we have any, they're maybe not beefy roles, but like, do we have any ideas for women to play those roles? Who's dating Ben Platt?
I was going to say, you stunt cast this, just...
Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
I mean, it could work.
Sabrina Carpenter. This is how we get Gen Z.
So you get Gen Z.
Yeah, there you go.
Sabrina
Yep,
Carpenter and
Olivia
I was about to say Selena
Rodrigo.
Gomez.
Yeah, Olivia Rodrigo.
Olivia Rodrigo. I was going to say Selena Gomez, but Linda Grossman is obviously Jewish. So, Jenny Slate.
Ooh, that could work.
Yeah.
We love Jenny Slate.
I love
Yeah.
Jenny Slate as well.
Sabrina Carpenter and Jenny,
Jenny
Slate.
Slate.
That's very like opposite ends of the spectrum casting.
Yes.
Any other important figures, I should say?
Key players.
Who's Lauren Michaels?
Oh yeah, Lauren Michaels.
Shoot. Oh my God.
Mike Myers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mike
I was
Myers.
like, can we just have Mike Myers, please?
Yeah, that works.
I would die. That'd
Mike
be amazing.
Myers.
Mike Myers.
Best friends with Ben Platt.
We'll just CGI de-age him, you
Yeah,
know?
you know.
Well, and we're gonna have to age up John and Ben for the interview at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just find like two random old men
old guys. Yeah.
on the street. Oh, or like fucking like just fucking be like John Lithgow and
Oh my God, John Lithgow. I love him.
and Eugene Levy.
Oh yeah.
Just say fuck it. Those two guys, you're gonna come in
Perfect.
for 5 minutes.
Perfect.
You guys do 5 minutes of filming. You get paid $100,000 each. We shake hands. We go.
I was gonna, when you said John Lithgow, I was like, oh, are we gonna make this a Daddy's Home in the Daddy's Home universe? And
No,
Mel
we're
Gibson's
not.
gonna
No,
be the
it's
other-
not in the motherfucking Daddy's Home universe, Sean.
You know Daddy's Home is?
No.
It was a
Mark
Mark Wahlberg,
Wahlberg,
Will Ferrell movie.
and
And then
then
I think there's a sequel with John Lithgow and
John
Mel Gibson,
Lithgow and
right?
Mel Gibson. Yes.
Unfamiliar.
Fucking.
I've never seen it.
See, you can't bring up Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg and wear that hat.
That's true.
It's a bad look on you right now.
That's true.
And I say that as a friend.
There, I was only kidding.
Be glad that this is an audio form. Yeah, are you cool with just like John Lithgow and Eugene Levy?
That's completely fine with me. That's completely
Simon
fine.
and Garfunkel
Oh my God.
for 5 minutes.
Perfect. Perfect. I just imagine Eugene Levy singing like literally anything. And it'd be so great.
Oh, they're not gonna sing shit.
I know,
Eugene
I
Levy.
know. But just like in his voice, I'm like,
I would love to like pitch it to him. Hey, can you play old Art Garfunkel for like 5 minutes? He's like, you've heard me talk. You want me to sing? I think we all know how that's gonna end up. With his fucking eyebrows.
Yeah, I know. I was like, his eyebrows are going to be that entire last scene for sure. Like, oh, I think we have a new understanding.
I think you could give at least half of his net worth. It's all to his eyebrows.
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay. I think that's it for a cast.
That's it.
I think so.
Well, now we all know what it's come to. It's come to the trailer.
In a world, you're going to see one of the most famous bands in the world come together from the beginning to the end. But let's start at the beginning.
Oh man, I'm just at this little talent show, and some geeky little fro boy is standing up to sing. I wonder how he's gonna do.
I don't know what to do.
Sing like Art Garfunkel.
What would he sing at this point?
I don't know. Alice in Wonderland. That doesn't have songs. Everly Brothers.
Oh, wait, that's the righteous. Oh, my love, my darling, I've hungered for your touch.
Oh shit! I think I'm gonna learn the guitar for this kid.
A long, lonely time.
And so they get together and they realize through time and playing together that they might work together to become a band.
Hey, do you want to start a band?
Okay.
I was thinking we could call ourselves Tom and Jerry,
Cool.
like the cartoon.
I love that cartoon.
Yeah, cool. What songs do you know?
Mostly everything by the Everly Brothers. What about you?
I know all of the Everly Brothers songs, so
Cool.
let's just do that.
Okay.
Oh, my love.
And so they take their time and they forge their bond together throughout. And they come together and they realize they hit it big with they do one album. I don't remember the title of the album. Is that Sound of Silence? No, the second one, first one. What's the first album?
One's Wednesday morning, 3 a.m.
Wednesday morning, 3 a.m. They do that. Doesn't go well. And then they come back with
Sound of Silence.
Sound of Silence.
Yeah.
Flawless.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision softly speaking left its I was sleeping. And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains in the sound of silence.
And so they have a very successful album and song, and it is all going well until they kind of realize maybe their differences.
All right, Art, playing here. You're gonna come in 4, 3, 2.
What?
Oh, Art's
What?
not here. Art's not here.
I'm not here.
Where the fuck is Art Garfunkel, who's supposed to be singing like a bridge over troubled water?
And so we cut to Art's film audition.
Yes. Oh God. Hi, I'm Art. Catch 22
Yeah.
and stuff.
Could you just read that monologue right there in front of you?
Yeah. Let me look. What's a good one?
It does not go well. But yet it rubs Paul the wrong way.
What the fuck, Art? We're here. We're trying to record these albums to get them out. We've got a really good thing going. Like, where were you?
Being forgotten like I always am. So I went off and did my own thing, where I might actually be appreciated for something. For
Forgotten?
once.
Your name's on the fucking queue.
Right, after yours.
It's reverse alphabetical.
Oh my God. Don't get me started.
And so they break up, but then they get back together when best friend of Paul Simon, Lorne Michaels, brings him onto SNL.
You gotta do Lorne Michaels.
Hey, No, Doctor.
How about no?
$1 million. I'm trying to get in the form. All right, Paul. And Art, you're gonna get together and act in my awesome show, Saturday Night Live. I've stuck you two in a room together. Now get along.
Hey,
Hi.
I still really hate your fucking guts.
Same here. Yeah! Throw the chair.
Chair.
Don't throw the chair at my head, you son of a bitch!
Don't talk about my mom like that.
And so Lauren Michaels' plan does not go to plan. And so they end up going their own ways, but then they're brought back together for one last gig.
Look, Art, let's just speak it plain. You don't like me, I don't like you. That's fine. But I got this really great offer to do this concert in Central Park for a lot of money. But they said, I need to have you with me.
How do you feel about that?
I think I can, man up and just do the job for a lot of money. I hate you, but I like money more.
Wow, that's a low bar.
How do you feel about that?
I think if the people want it, I'll do it.
Agreed.
And so they have the most magnificent show in Central Park.
Starts playing the boxer.
I am.
Came in so early, but maybe that's just how he is, and maybe that's just how I am. Maybe because he's this way is how he's able to write what he writes, and maybe because the way I am is why I'm able to write what I write. Maybe what we had wasn't so bad.
Lie, lie, lie.
All right, coming this summer to a theater near you, the Sound of Silence.
Yeah! And that's our movie, everybody.
Woo!
I am torn between somehow editing that into something cohesive or just leaving it as is and letting everybody hear all the... It's the process.
It's the process.
People see how the sausage is made on this podcast.
Right, we want to see the sausage being.
Thank you, listeners, for listening to What a Pitch. Thank you, Ashley, for being a guest on What a Pitch.
Thanks for inviting me.
How
It was
did
fun.
we do?
I think we did well.
Great.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this film. If I woke up and I saw this preview, I'd shit my pants.
That's
And I don't even
what
wear
you
pants. I'd
should
shit my
do.
dress.
There you go.
Yeah.
This movie's not actually being made.
I
You
know.
Oh, okay.
I know. But maybe someday.
We always have to break the guest's heart at the end of every podcast.
Maybe someday someone with a lot of money.
Is that your Lorne Michaels or your Donald
I was
Trump?
saying, is that Donald Trump just came in?
Maybe someday someone with a lot of money will make a Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel biopic. I was always more of a Garfunkel guy myself. Paul Simon, nasty, nasty man. Fuck Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You're wearing that hat. I demand you say it on the recording.
Fuck Donald Trump.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ashley, please tell people how they can continue to support you after listening to the podcast. Any social media, any upcoming like cabarets or shows that you're in?
Yeah, so I have a friend that does cabarets at Java Joe's in Ankeny usually once a month. We have an opening numbers cabaret happening on the 20th, which is a Sunday. And I want to say it's 5 to 8. The event is on Facebook. And it's super chill. It's really fun. You can come by, grab, well, I guess that's a little late in the day for coffee, but you can grab a snack and listen to some great musical theater. So that's happening the 20th. Otherwise, I'm kind of on a hiatus for the moment, so I'm not real sure what my next project's going to be, but you can find me on Instagram at let_it_be Marie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sean, please tell the people how to support you.
You can go and read my article that was recently published in the Des Moines Register regarding my experience with farming and getting out of farming due to corporate monopoly. I know that is corporate monopolies, I should say. No, that's completely unrelated to this podcast, but I highly recommend so you can understand why monopolies are horrible and you should not want consolidation across any part of the economy. That's basically it. I don't really have any other shows coming on, so listen to the podcast.
It's not related to the podcast, but it's certainly more important than the podcast.
Correct.
Yes. And you're a great writer, and I'm really proud of you, buddy.
Thank you.
Good job. You can support me by following my band on Facebook and wherever you listen to music. It's called Bird Games. I just released my first single. It was a song that I wrote with my wife, Beth. It's called Togetherness. Let me look up the social media really quick. I think it's at Bird Games Band. So facebook.com/Bird Games Band. You can, and then stream the music, the song Togetherness by Bird Games, wherever you listen to music, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. You can support the podcast, What a Pitch, by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and now YouTube. I've got that up and running.
Brother.
Yeah, at PODWAP, also known as PodWap. And wherever you listen to podcasts, if it's on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you get notified.
Smash that subscribe
Smash that subscribe button. Smash it. But if you listen to it on traditional podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please subscribe, rate, and review What a Pitch, because it's really good for the algorithm, and I'm actually trying now.
Hell yeah, brother.
Like a good boy. I'm a good boy. But that's it for us. Thank you, Ashley, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sean, as always, for being my lovely co-host.
Thank you, Dan.
And thank you, listeners, for watching What a Pitch!